I'm here right now with Eric and Jacinda Johnson. These are great people. They're friends of mine, and they have done so much for not only people here at Heroes Night Out, not only for veterans. And Eric is a veteran, and you're still active right now, right?
Reservist right now.
But that's kind of still being active, right? I mean, they still call you up just like anybody else, don't they?
They still call me up, yeah, whenever they need me. So.
And tell the folks your branch, your rank, just a Reader's Digest of who Eric Johnson is.
Wow, former Marine officer, now a Army officer, Lieutenant Colonel, Army National Guard, and I do a little of everything, I think.
You know, he's so modest. You know, it's so funny. You capture people that are like this on camera, and he is a wonderful patriot for sure, and he has a wonderful spouse who's right here, and she helps a whole lot of people, including myself and with my programming. And Jacinda Johnson, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful this evening. How are you, Craig?
I'm doing fantastic. I want to thank you so much for all the things you do for all of us here.
I don't do anything, but thank you very much. Thank you for everything you do.
You know, modesty, that's one thing that she has for sure. And, you know, the bottom line is this. We cannot do this alone. None of us can do our stuff alone. Whether you're in the armed forces, listen, everybody's got a buddy. Everybody has to rely on each other. It's the same thing when we get outside here in the private sector. And we're all one big family, isn't it? And to never forget, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. So just a little bit about her. I'm much more comfortable talking about her than me. But when I was in Afghanistan, I was running a civil affairs team. And we supported 3 different orphanages, and the sole support that we got were from churches and organizations like Heroes Night Out right here in Cedar Park, Leander, and Austin area, and Jacinda put all that together. So, you know, you'd see kids over there and they'd have one pair of clothes, and she would go out and do shoe drives and clothes drives, things like that, toys. One of the big things the children needed was school supplies, notebooks, pencils. They'd say, bitte bakshish, bitte kitabcha, which means, can you please give me a notebook? Because where they go to school, they really can't attend unless they have the needed supplies, but the families couldn't afford it. So Jacinda would send over, her and her family support group would send over thousands upon thousands of notebooks for us to hand out to the kids, pencils, pens, things like that. So it was really neat.
See, look at that, Jacinda. My God, she is so, I'm going to stand up here. I'm probably going to get out a camera shot here. My age gets with me with my legs. But I want to thank you so much. And listen, you did fantastic. Okay, you're on camera. Who are these people behind me? Let's introduce these 2 people.
This is Erica Johnson,
Hi.
my daughter. And this is Kendall Johnson, and she's more my adopted daughter.
Well, how are both of you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. We're doing good.
Well, good. I want to thank you so much for coming out this evening.
We came here to help.
Well, you know what? You did a great job serving. My stomach is full, okay? And that's a good thing, because one thing I like is turkey and ham, for sure. And there's a gentleman over here. If you don't mind, we say hello to you real quick, too, okay? This is, and thank you so much, Jacinda and Eric. This gentleman right here, I'm going to get on camera, right? Thank you so much. See, she's giving again. Good to see you again, sir. What was your name again?
Jim Rhodeman. I flew B-17 Flying Fortresses during the Second World War, and on the nose of my airplane, I had my girl painted. The name of the ship was Grin and Bear It, and you notice she has clothes on. And when I was first given that airplane, she didn't have any clothes on. So that's how the name came about, Grin and Bear It. She had her breasts covered and her crotch covered.
Wow.
So the generals said that the Princess Elizabeth, who was 16 years old at that time, wanted to come and visit the American Air Base. And they didn't want to embarrass the princess, so they put out an order that we had to put clothes on our women. Now about half the planes had naked women painted on them, and that was my girl. And I don't know what her name really was.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a heck of a story in itself. And, you know, there's so much history going back. And World War II, as we call them here in this country, really the greatest generation for multiple reasons. And I know I've met so many that are so modest. There's a gentleman that I know right here in Georgetown, Texas, who is, I believe, 94 years old now. And he has his dog tags he carries in his pocket. And I said, you need to come out to Heroes Night Out. And he says, listen, son, I am no hero. And, you know, it's amazing. And you don't know how much it pleases me to be sitting here with you right now and to hear you. You had a story you told me a little bit earlier. Do you mind telling that story again briefly?
Jimmy Doolittle was a great general, and he was the head of our 8th Air Force. And he wanted to know what the weaknesses of the Germans were, so he had his intelligence people to make out a report. And they said, well, when our bombers went over Germany to bomb Germany, the Germans knew exactly where we were all the time, as far as longitude and latitude were concerned. But they did not have radar equipment that could tell them what our altitude was. And so General Doolittle sent us out on a mission over the heart of Germany. He sent all of his bombers out, over 150,000 B-17s and B-24s. And he sent them all out at one time, and he had called the Germans on the radio the night before the first mission. And he told the Germans we would be everywhere over Germany all the next day, and that the Germans would be cowards not to come up and fight us. And so, sure enough, Hermann Göring, who is head of the Luftwaffe, he sent his fighter planes out to knock our bombers down. But he did not realize we were down at a lower altitude than we were supposed to be at. We were down at 9,000 and 10,000 feet. And he sent his fighter planes out. I was leading 6 airplanes, and these German fighter planes came down and to attack my 6 airplanes. And one thing that the Germans failed to do was to keep an eye on the rear view mirrors. And so we had 6 P-51s to line up, one plane after another, right behind the German planes. And they were all shot down instantaneously at the same time. And all 6 German planes went into spins, never hit each other, but they spun down to the ground and crashed. One P-51 lost both wings. They came off, and the American pilot was also killed. And that's never been written anywhere, but it's a story I've written about in my memoirs. I'm trying to get them published now.
Well, I thank you so much for sharing that with us here tonight. And thank you, and God bless you for everything you've done for us here in this country.
Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful to meet you.
What's your name?
It's Craig Bushon. Craig Bushon is my name. Bushon.
What bloodline is that?
That's a long story. I am a half Italian, and then I am also Lithuanian. So, Lithuanian side.
Somebody got mixed up.
Yes, I think you're right. Well, there you have it, folks. I want to thank you so much for tuning in tonight here at Heroes Night Out. Go to heroesnightout.org. Let me tell you, there's still so many great people in this country yet to be spoken with, yet to be written about, and yet to be learned from. And that's one of the greatest goals that we have here on this program, and that's why we get out and we talk to the folks in your neighborhood. And if you have a story, always know that you can go to the Craig Bushon Show. At the bottom of the page, there's a story that there's at the bottom you could submit what story you think needs to be told. And I want to thank you so much. Please do that. God bless, and we'll see you soon.